deepest desire, I made sure I got what's mine.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to We Can Do Hard Things. Today, we are inviting you to a double date.
It's so exciting.
It is exciting.
I feel nervous and excited a little bit for the past few minutes, we've been talking about our own personal rules for our double date. Like you would imagine you and your partner driving to this said double date and like you're kind of talking about like what's going to happen. Like, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So our first double date on We Can Do Hard Things.
Who is it?
Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird.
What? I mean, legends.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this. Okay. Megan and Sue.
Here we are.
And I just want to explain to you what the hell we're doing here. Okay. Abby and I decided a while back that we were going to try to have friends. Okay.
Like new friends?
No.
Okay. Just existing friends that
No, right.
reboot.
Like we were just going to actually talk to the people that we call our friends.
Yeah.
But we don't want to go anywhere or really do anything about it. So what we decided was that we were going to have double dates on the podcast. So then we made a list of all of the people that we wanted to have a double date with, and it kept just saying Megan and Sue.
Yeah.
So here we are.
I love a 9
Thank you.
I love a 9 a.m. A 9 a.m. double date.
Yeah,
I'm all
that's
in.
actually typical for us.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Well, in the sober world, when you don't drink at night, like you don't go get dinner and drinks if you're not drinking. So
Yeah. No.
we do coffee.
Yeah.
And
It's like,
friends.
Coffee
because
date.
it gets very arbitrary. It's like the Goodwill Hunting. It's like, do you want to get together and have some caramels?
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell else do you do?
So what
like
are you
caramels.
guys doing? Like
caramels.
what in the hell are you doing? Where are you right now? Are you in Seattle?
Yeah, we're in Seattle. We're in Seattle. We're both kind of, Abby, I feel like you know this, stress and anxiety and life questioning feeling as well as we do. We're in our January sort of like, it's just every year it comes, the anxiety comes, all of the questions about my life come. And it's like, I know what's happening, it still just happens, but we're working out and doing the things and doing
What are the
sports.
questions? Because
We're
I feel
sporting.
this way. I want you to understand that this is not a Sporty Spice thing. I think you're alluding to that because you just only called out Abby, but January is just a pit of existential dread all the time.
For them, it's
Yeah.
in the form of like a beep test.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
that?
That's where they're
Fitness
Yeah.
testing.
So
The beep test.
yeah,
Like,
that's
come
where
on, I
they're.
talked about
I don't
the beep
have that
test.
experience. Thank God. We don't do that fitness testing stuff.
It's just like the feeling of, you know, you can't wait to get to your vacation at the end of your season. It's all you think about all year long. You can't wait. Of course, you take your, 7 days off, like your really long break, 7 days. And then you have to get going again. Somehow in 7 days, you forgot how to do everything and everything hurts and everything's like 20,000 times harder than it ever was before. And you're like, should we just hang it up? Should I be done? Why is it so hard? Is everyone else doing it this hard? No, it looks easy for them. It's just so dumb to like get ready for us, the sports.
Is it like the Sunday scaries, but like times a million? Is
Yeah.
it like on Sunday when everything feels terrifying and you forgot how to
Yes.
be out in the world and do whatever it is you do and you don't think you'll ever figure it out again? Is it like that, but harder?
Well, I think that Megan and I were very similar in this way, that when it was off season, we were off. We took those 7, and might I say maybe 14. We might have
Yeah,
extended those days off. So
We needed it.
that coming back into shape is just miserable. And also when you get older, it's harder. It's just physiologically more difficult. Some people just like stay in shape during that time, but I just never did. But how is your body holding up, Megan? Like, are you feeling healthy at least?
I am feeling good. Yeah. I had a little longer break actually this time than I normally do. I obviously didn't go to the camp in Australia. So I feel like I was really able to kind of phase out like, okay, you're doing a little bit of rehab in the beginning and now we're doing strength. And now I'm kind of back on the field getting ready for preseason. So I actually feel pretty good, like knock on wood. And I've been able to kind of slow roll it, which has been nice. And I haven't felt a ton of pressure. There's always like a little bit of like, I'm not going into this camp or whatever, but it's actually been nice to not have that pressure. And I just get to like roll into my club preseason, which will be really nice. So I feel pretty good.
Do you two feel, so we were just talking to a good friend, Sarah Paulson, and she was talking about how she's just gotten to this point in her life where she's finally figured out that she knows how to do what she does. Like it's not just one long fluke. It's not like she's tricking the world every time she shows up. She actually tells herself, wait, you know how to act. Like you can do this. It's not luck. Do you guys feel like you can do sports yet? Or do you still feel like you're just tricking the world every time? And when you get a trophy or whatever you get, you're like, oh, thank God I tricked him again.
Got him.
I think it's a dance. I think you're doing a dance. I think there are days when you feel that way. And then there are days when you're like, man, I hope I score today. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I think like Abby said, or she talked about getting older. What happens when you get older is you definitely start to realize what you're good at. You start to, when you're out there playing, you start to stick to what you're good at. And then, but what happens is you're getting older, you're realizing you're really good at it, right? Like you've proven it. And then your body starts to go a little bit. So then it's like this shift to like, well, is my body going to let me do it? Like, I know I can do it now, but is my body going to let me do it? And then all of a sudden, for me anyway, the focus shifts to that where I'm in my workouts. The minute I feel any pain, I'm like, oh, this could be it. That's, you know, and the rest of my week is spent in retirement. And then I show up the next week and it feels pretty good. And I'm like, all right, I can play forever. So it's just this constant like dance.
That's horseshit,
It's
though.
so true.
That the second you figure out how to do it, it's like, that reminds me of, I think I'm in perimenopause right now. That reminds me of that. It's like, okay, I'm crushing it. I'm a badass. I am like, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks about me. I am out there doing my thing. And it's like, oh, but I'm going to have hot flashes every 4 minutes. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but it's like your body's going to remind you and like knock you down 9 pegs every time you start to get comfortable. It's not like, I feel like at this stage in both of our careers, it's like, if all things were equal physically, it's like we'd be busting these kids' asses. Like, it's not, it's like, I know what to do and exactly how to do it and where my advantages are and all that. It's just about like bringing this body along to get it to the point where it can like halfway do what my mind is asking.
Well,
it to
and
do.
as pro athletes, y'all never are actually at, especially as we get older, you're never at 100%. So you're always dealing with something. And like that just plays a massive role into the confidence that you could take as an athlete on the pitch or on the court. So it's like, I don't know. I just think it's so fucking amazing that y'all are still playing. I mean, Sue, how old are you right now?
41.
Fuck. That's how old I am.
Yeah.
You couldn't
You're
pay
such
me.
a slacker. You could still, I can't understand what you're saying right now because I haven't listened, because I keep going back to the fact that Megan Rapinoe just called a bunch of people on the team the kids.
Yeah.
That I
the
feel like a
kids,
'cause
great
they are.
grandmother right
Yes.
now.
Yes.
If Megan is referring to, wow, so you're like the old person now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are you the
Yeah.
oldest on the team now that Carly's gone?
And Becky. Becky, I think, is like a month older. But
And
no, it's
Sue,
Becky
you are
and I.
also?
Oh,
Are you
yeah.
the oldie?
I've been the oldest for like 5 years.
And she just
Legitimately.
agreed to play for another year, which is amazing and wild to me. I mean,
Wild.
have you treated your body perfectly forever?
No.
How are you still moving?
I'm like,
No,
good
41.
genetics.
I'm 41.
Yeah.
No, but I didn't do this forever, but I switched. Like my workout regimen. I hired somebody, all this stuff, probably 6 years ago now. And that was like, I was plateauing. And then it wasn't even that like I took off. It was just like, oh, it didn't do the decline. It kind of just stayed. And then I was able to, like you guys talked about, when you get older, you are just smarter, you're more experienced than these players. So you can use that as long as your body's there. So I just found a way to keep my body like hovering. And that's how, like I always say, like people talk about father time. I'm like, I'm just trying to tie him.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to win.
That's good.
I'm not trying to win. I just need to tie.
Just keep up. You guys should become, well, you already are, but if you're a writer, you don't have to give a shit about your body. I don't even have to like make it up the stairs to have a
I'll
good
be at
day.
the bottom of the stairs writing.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So how did you guys meet?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
The quick sort of version is, Abby, you know the like Olympic NBC Media Day.
Uh-huh.
It's usually in
The
LA.
all day.
The all day. You go from like uniform to this outfit.
Casual Saturday,
from, like,
date night.
yeah.
You know, those are the outfits you have to bring. They
The
tell you
bullshit
they're
they
like
put
bring a
women
date
through,
night Saturday
yeah.
night, a casual Sunday night, and then a workout outfit, and then you have like your proper uniform, and
Yeah.
you're gonna like change these outfits constantly. So
And
your
this
hair's
is
up, your hair's down.
this is NBC pre-Olympics, so that NBC can get footage to use while the
Yeah.
Olympics are playing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Continue.
which
It's
you
like-
which you maybe see like 10 seconds of it ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like entertainment tonight,
Yeah.
the sports, some news, like go into this social thing, like all of these different like stakeholders, media stakeholders are in the same thing. So this was 2016.
Yeah, 16.
So Dan Levy, obviously my agent, Abby, you know Dan and Glennon very well. Yeah. So it was like sort of in passing. I also was not single at the time. I was actually engaged at the time. So this was just kind of like a funny interaction. Dan basically like introduced me. And we had been in Seattle for whatever, a number
However
of
long you were
years.
there,
Like I
yeah.
obviously knew who she was, but like, you know, I'd gone to a couple WNBA games, but didn't like know each other. So Dan was like, oh my gosh, you guys should like, you know, sort of know each other. And it was one of those things, she had her uniform on, but then she had like the hair down and I'm sure like more makeup than you
Tragic.
wanted.
Tragic.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I just like, you know, because I'm so cool and so smooth with everything, I was just made some dumb joke that I immediately walked past her and rolled my eyes. And I was like, I can't fucking believe you just did that. But I like we kind of got introduced and it was one of those things, you know, when it's like quick and like, it's just
It was
one of
very quick.
these, like, it's just a weird thing. And I was like, oh, like you're ready for your game. And just like, I was like,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
so there's that. So we can't even be friends now because she's like,
Right.
she's a loser. Like,
So she's dead to me. Right.
yeah, like obviously we
I
can't.
was like, oh, I heard
be-
she was cool.
Yeah, like everything that you've heard is a total lie.
Not.
Anyway, so that was kind of like our
That was like
first
the proper first meeting.
little interaction. Yeah, and then, what was the next? Basically at the Olympics.
At the Olympics.
We famously, you know, bonked out in a massive way. I was coming back from my ACL, so it was just the whole Olympics for us was really kind of terrible, but we got out so early and we never actually even made it to Rio. So I was like, oh, I'm going to Rio. There was like 5 or 6 of us. We went to a few games. We ended up, you were staying on a cruise ship. So it was like
Different Olympic experiences.
Right.
Different Olympic
budgets.
experiences.
Different
budgets.
budgets.
Ah.
Wildly different. I mean, she
Wildly
said,
different.
what is it called? Manaus?
Manaus.
That then appeared on 90 Day Fiance.
Yes, the hotel.
The hotel did. And I was like, I started watching that one season. I don't regret it. I don't
No.
regret it. It's not something I'm proud of, but I don't regret it. And I was like, oh, they're in this like crazy Brazil. She's like, that's where we stayed.
That's where we stayed.
That's where we stayed. I was like, what?
My clothes are still damp. It's
So,
like it was
Different
it was awful.
experiences.
And
Yeah, so
just
anyways,
real
it's
quick,
like-
can you explain to us why?
Why? So it's actually very simple. USA basketball, the umbrella is both men's and women's. There's a lot of like, how do I explain this? The NBA is very much involved in our USA basketball experience. It's kind of all one big umbrella, actually. Like the NBA kind of owns the USA basketball rights and it gets there's a lot of detail to it. But with that, there's a certain standard in which the men are treated and we get treated the same. As we should, as we deserve.
Go
but
fucking
that's
figure.
basically what happens. Yeah. So it's like they charter, we charter. They actually cannot stay in the village. They're just entirely too famous. It's the times we do go in there with them, it's wild.
Nightmare.
So we always have to get something outside of the village. We, unlike you guys, we stay in the city the whole time. We play the whole time. We stay in the city, whatever city it is, the whole time. And our traveling party's huge. We can bring guests.
Cool.
So they get us like a hotel, or in this case, they couldn't find a hotel. Like logistically, that made sense. So we stayed on a cruise ship. It was like below deck vibes.
Very
So
It's
cool.
a much more like enjoyable,
It is.
relaxed
You're not grinding.
environment where we're like, you have 1 hour a day of family time.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's like
okay.
jail.
Yeah. It's like, okay. Like,
Visitation.
yeah, everyone being miserable, that's going to help us, our performance on the field. You guys just have more. But it's weird. It's like they're not on contract like we are.
No, it's
you
a
haven't normally been.
totally
It's like these
different
events.
model.
Do you get paid more like than the soccer? Like, do you actually, the women, right? So it doesn't translate to actual
Yeah, they don't even
paycheck.
get like
different.
paid really.
It's like
kind of
we get bonuses for winning.
No,
so-
but I mean like in the WNBA.
So we're talking
so-
two separate things. USA basketball
Yeah.
is different than the WNBA.
Right. So like for them, and I'm sure you hear, and by the way, I'm like you, Glenn, like I had to learn all like their lives, like how it went. Their national team is like the priority. It's where the money is. It's like where their contracts are. For us, it's the WNBA and overseas. And then national team is second. And for them, it's like national team's first
Got
and
it.
WSL's second. Like it's
Okay.
a flipped. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, cool. So you're in the Olympics. Megan's
Mhm.
out of the Olympics, but visiting the Olympics.
Yes.
Yeah, basically.
Sue
She's a
is on
fan.
below deck.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
then how does this happen?
So I had been going
go ahead.
I had been going to a couple of games.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's like we didn't know each other, but like we're in the exact same world in life. We know the same people, like the agents, all the sort of things.
You're just going to skip the DM part.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, I did
It actually sounds like way more scandalous. than
So
it was.
obviously the summer of 16, it was like
It's actually not
from a
scandalous.
social justice like
Yeah.
perspective. I mean, we just come off like 14, Ferguson, Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, like, you know, going into 50. I feel like I was like educating myself more. The WNBA obviously is always the leader and in the forefront of social justice work and protests and all of that. So summer of 16, the players from Minnesota had refused to speak to the media and worn the black shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of going into the Olympics, I slid into Sue's DMs. I do love the DMs and like
she does.
not
does.
in. I just
No,
it's
she
like
hits a,
the
like
blue check. The blue check gets you far.
yeah. No,
I'm like, hi.
it's like that's how you met Carla, her stylist.
Yeah, like the guy who's
The guy who's
a
doing
bunch
our
of,
apartment
like,
right now.
designing in New York. Like I just slide into everyone's
goes
DMs
right
and
in.
I'm like, hi. Like you didn't ask for me, but here I am. Anyway, so I had hit her like, hey, just amazing
About
what
social justice, yeah.
like what, you know, you guys are doing, if there's any way for our teams to partner or whatever. This was pre-kneeling. That happened sort of after we got back from the Olympics.
Mm.
Just kind of, is there any way to connect or help like amplify whatever? That it didn't really kind of like lead anywhere, but we sort of were like
Yeah.
talking.
If I had to like round this
it was
out,
platonic.
there's like
It
all
actually
these like
was.
connecting points. We met here, and then we saw each other at the USA House, which is this place that at the Olympics there's always like a USA House where every athlete can go, and they have like food and different kind of entertainment things, whatever they do there. I saw you there, and then she lost, so then she was coming to my games. At that point, we had connected on the DM, and it was kind of like, oh, you know, good to see you, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. And then they came to our after party.
Yeah.
So we had
And
one.
My fiance was there at the time.
Yeah,
Sarah was there.
Sarah was there.
So it was like,
So this is really like totally platonic
Mm-hmm.
at
Got
the
it.
time.
Okay, so you DM'd Sue about social justice before the kneeling, before your
Yeah.
kneeling. So would
Yeah.
you say that, because I secretly believe that the WNBA is in charge of the world.
Yes.
I really
well,
do.
they certainly should be.
Yes.
Holy shit. So would you say that that influenced you?
Oh yeah, good question.
The WNBA influenced you
In
and
terms
the
of
way
your
that
kneeling.
you decided to take on the kneeling. Do you think there's any way that that was influential to you?
Yeah,
directly?
definitely. Because I think that they were the first ones doing anything publicly protesting as an athlete kind of during that time. Like they were talking before Colin was talking. They had already done the protest in that summer and in their season. And it wasn't just with the Minnesota team. It then kind of went league wide. You guys wore black t-shirts and, you know, refused to speak to the media about, I mean, if you remember that summer, it was like, there was like 5 really high profile murders of Black men. And there was the shooting of the police officers. I think it was in Dallas. It was a very violent and tragic summer sort of leading into Colin kneeling, which was like September or something. So I think I was already kind of like opening my eyes to what was happening and, you know, going through, like I said, like Trayvon Martin and then the protests in Ferguson and Michael Brown. And that obviously extended really far, the formation of Black Lives Matter. Like I was just like learning about it. I don't think I was really thinking about it all that much before then. And then you guys, you know, and it was just much more is like, I feel like that summer, every time you turned around, like articles or in the Atlantic or the New York Times or Sports Illustrated, it was all just kind of like in the sort of zeitgeist of the moment. So yeah, like you guys were the first ones to really speak out. And I think even in my sort of like implicit bias, I think back then I would say Colin was probably a bigger influence because obviously when he spoke out, he got so much more, you know, media attention. It's the NFL, but like really they were saying they were doing the exact same things, you know, in the best way that they could or in the most impactful way that they could sort of prior to Colin even kneeling for the first time.
Yeah. So amazing. And Sue, that was mostly Black women led, right? Is that the way that it, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was Minnesota Lynx is really the team. And you would say Maya Moore, Simone Augustus, Rebecca Brunson on that team, Lindsay Whalen, those four, like I can picture the image. There's a picture of them standing kind of at like a press conference they had made shirts. I forget the man's name who died in Minnesota, who was murdered. Castile, maybe
Philando.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was the instigator for them. Because this happened in our state. And when they did that, the security guards, who are generally like off-duty police officers, they walked out. And then the rest of our league was like, wait a minute, like we need to, you know, support this, be a part of this, make it bigger. And that's actually the first time we really started to learn the power of like the collective. Like, yes, it was big when Minnesota did it. Because then I think New York Liberty followed. I think maybe Phoenix Mercury followed. Then the whole league followed. And it was like, oh, when we're all doing this, then it's like a big boom versus just one team here, one team there. So that was actually, in terms of our journey as a league, that was the starting point of realizing the collective power.
And the rest of us don't even understand, I don't think consciously, the power of what you all do first. Because I remember seeing the whole Loeffler situation, the Kelly Loeffler thing.
This is the 2020 election.
Right. That terrible woman.
Or the 2018.
Right. And then, I don't know numbers.
No, this is 2020.
2020. Yeah.
Yeah,
she
but
was
I remember
already a
seeing the
senator.
Vote Warnock t-shirts. And
Yeah.
I remember being like, who's that?
Yeah.
So how weird is that? That like, you know, a year later, we were all like, this was my idea. But that team was the first. And that was so brave and amazing. Like, wasn't that the owner of, Loeffler was the owner of the team? And these women all walked out with Vote Warnock t-shirts on.
Of the
so
players
badass.
of the Atlanta Dream.
Yeah.
Dream, right?
Yeah, the Atlanta Dream. The whole league did it, our entire league. And that was like the beauty of the bubble. Obviously, we're in a bubble because shit's crazy, COVID, so much, George Floyd, like there's so much happening. But the beauty of the bubble was we were all together. So you can, and you know how it is. I mean, how hard is it to get on a Zoom with two other people, you know, finding time? It's impossible. So for 144 women to be in one place at the same time, you could just like strategize. Cause we were like, I know you're not doing shit. Get on this thing, like come meet me.
Yeah, you guys were really the sort of like the snap or the whatever firecracker. Obviously, you know, shout out Stacey Abrams and Fair Fight and the activists on the ground.
That's, I mean,
they were setting the like groundwork.
That was like speed dial.
It did feel like the moment where it became more of a national thing or more thing that the casual person was thinking about. And then you guys saved the Republic by getting us 2 more senators at least, even though we haven't really done enough with the advantage that we don't have. Anyways, we don't need to get into that.
And then you think about how much attention and credit women's soccer gets for things.
Yes.
It's so fascinating. And well, Megan and Sue, why would you say that women's soccer tends to be more celebrated in this country than the WNBA is?
Well, and I mean, really just very bluntly, in our country that is white supremacist founded, heteronormative, cisgendered, patriarchal, the straight assumed, generally white, cisgendered women, of course, it's like we're cute and white.
Right.
We talk about this all the time. It's like we're cute and white and more palatable, and we get to represent America, you know, with the playing for the US as our primary thing. I mean, it's like I just can't get to any other conclusion other than the WNBA is like tall and black and everyone thinks everyone's gay, and think about the society that we live in.
Yeah.
And they're always compared to the counterparts, which is the NBA. And I think people in America have a much better knowledge of basketball than soccer traditionally. And so, I mean, even when people say like, oh, you guys are so much better than the men, I'm like, yeah, it's really not like the goal, first of all. And also it's just like, it just leaves out so much nuance where I think like, you know, every LA Fitness YMCA basketball guy like thinks that he could be the best player in the WNBA and he just can't. So I think it's really simple. I think that's why.
Yep. I think so too. From my massive sports background. So you had all these meetings and run-ins. Sue, when did you know, oh shit, I'm in love with Megan?
Or I like Megan even.
No, I want to know like,
we're gonna get there. We're like on a timeline.
I mean, obviously she liked Megan when she was so nerdy and was tried to like be cool at the Olympic thing, right? But like, when were you like, uh-oh? And by the way, I want everyone to know who's listening that they just had like a little sidebar
we had
to like get their story straight, which is what we always do.
More
like, okay, wait,
are we going to share that?
Yeah.
I think the one part that's always just a little, like I was with someone, so I never want to like disrespect that person. And you know,
we have the same scenario. So
yeah, it's like there was emotional overlap, which is overlap. And that's, you know, what it is and not, I wish it didn't happen that way, but it did. So that's
right.
So preface with that.
What we were side chatting about was, so this is one of those experiences where I feel like a lot of people have this experience. Okay. Had Megan and I never ended up together, I never would have even remembered some of these little moments. They just would have been these like little bloops in your mind that come and go. And it just never would have been like a big, huge factor. But because we did, we can look back on it and be like, oh, actually. So one of them is at that Olympics. So she was at the after party. We're all having fun. And she was standing over and I was like bringing her a drink and like making sure she was all set, that kind of a thing. Just being a good host, you know?
Yeah, like, we were just kind of chilling. It was like, you know, me and Sarah at the time. And then I think like Jess and Mary were around. Like we didn't really know anyone. So we were just kind of like posted up at this like, you know, tall table, just kind of standing and chilling and listening.
Being a good
and
host.
Like just being like, I don't know what we're doing here, but we're here. And we got on the boat and it took us 3 days because you had to give your passport and it was like a whole scene. So we're like, we're
security.
Here. Yeah, we're top security.
So I kept like checking in on them, I guess, to be like, hey, blah, 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 you know? And at one point, you know, one of my close friends is Diana Taurasi. We obviously know each other very well. So I like had just left the table for probably like the 5th time or something, like walked away. And she comes out to me, she goes, and get the fuck away from that table. And I was like, what? She was like, I know what's happening. Get away from that table.
You two know each other way.
Yeah. And I was like, shut up, you know, like whatever. So again, had, you know, we never end up together, that wouldn't even be, I mean, I guess I would remember it because it's just funny, but it just was like, whatever. But now looking back, I clearly was like caring for her in this way.
Yes.
Like I was like wanting to be near, but not in a disrespectful way. That's, I guess, what I'm getting at.
No,
it's
you
like,
weren't like prowling. You just legitimately like kept
Diana
coming over
saw
to the table.
Like Dee saw it and was like, get the fuck away from that table.
That's so interesting.
So that's like
so she's never cared about being a host this much as she does right now.
It's sweet. She was trying to protect you, you know? Those are the kind of friends you have. And now looking back.
I think that Dee was also trying to bring this to Sue's attention on a more conscious level because Dee wanted it to happen for you.
That's not your take?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Megan.
I think so.
I'll have to
but
ask
also
her.
it's like this funny thing where like it was like we all know each other because of course I know who Diana Taurasi is. Of course I know who Sue Bird is. Like we all sort of like know each other, but we don't really know. I feel like women's sports is getting better at that, or like women in sports or even just like entertainment or whatever. Like I feel like we get a little more self-conscious whereas the guys are out there like, yo, what's up? Like, of course I know who you are. And like, I feel like it was a little, Dee's kind of funny and the same. She's like, I don't want any new friends, but like that one seems that I could do it one new friend.
Yeah.
Oh, so you think,
But I think
she was like, oh, I hope Sue ends up with Megan because Megan seems cool and I want to be her friend.
no, well, a little bit of both.
A little bit.
But I
said,
think
yeah.
also she's like wanted like,
So this is about you?
No,
This is about you? No.
no,
I'm just kidding. A
no,
little bit?
no, not at all. Wanted you to find someone who
she recognized
loves you.
how amazing you are and was like,
No,
oh, my
such a
friend
good
should be with
segue.
her.
I mean,
This is
listen, I
such
don't know.
a
I've
fucking
kind of
good
walked
segue.
myself into that, but yeah, basically.
Okay.
What is, just gonna switch gears real quick. What do y'all fight about the most?
Oh God. I mean, presently Zoom calls. Like one is on one and the other one is making noise.
Oh,
This
that's-
is a huge, big issue in this household.
It's a big issue.
Big.
It's just I couldn't
do you
be
wanna- do you
more.
wanna share the
I
fighting
couldn't
story?
be more hypocritical about the way that I operate on Zoom
Would you
for
like to share it?
myself, and then like the way that I operate when Sue's on Zoom. It's just
Are you gonna?
I'm like death eyeing her if she makes one.
Oh,
noise.
if I like literally
Meanwhile,
put the
I'm like
mug down
opening
on the thing,
boxes and stuff. Yeah,
she goes,
yeah. I did have a little Zoom.
Oh. this is classic.
I did have a Zoom incident.
Do you feel
I am
comfortable?
loud off Zoom. I don't know why. We were in our place in New York. We've just bought a place in New York.
yeah.
Oh, cool.
There's nothing
yay.
really in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys will definitely have to come visit.
yes,
Obviously,
for
you're
sure.
invited.
Anytime.
So it's really empty. So it's very echoey already. Things are loud. I feel like you need to tell it, but
No, I mean, I just love every time we've shared this story just like a couple times.
now it's going out to the masses
Now
because you know they
everyone
have
will
the
know.
number one podcast
I
in
know,
the world.
I've heard. So
I
she
don't make
always
the rules.
She always loves to at the start say it was very echoey, and it's like yes, that's true
was.
because we didn't have furniture, but also it was loud enough. And I was on a Zoom call that was actually casual. It wasn't like a podcast or a recording. I was talking to like
It was our accountant
yeah, well
and
yeah.
our financial advisor, but
Yes.
that's fine.
Well, I wasn't going to put a name on it because now if they listen, they're going to know.
Well,
It's going to confirm
like
what
they
they
already
probably
knew.
thought. So we're on the call, and out of nowhere, I hear, I'll be off camera for a second. I hear, well, I can't because the mic's far. I hear, and I was like, oh, this bitch just farted.
I didn't mean it. I did not mean it.
This
I was
bee just
actually
farted.
I'm almost impossible to embarrass.
I
I
take back
actually
the
was
bitch.
like a little embarrassed.
I
that
texted
was
her.
Not intended.
I texted her, I was like, they just heard you fart.
Oh my God.
We all just heard you fart.
Well,
I was
and
like, well,
it
yeah, I
actually
did.
probably sounds like Sue farted, and she's like, "Excuse me."
But you don't want to
Yes.
stop and say, actually, that was Megan.
yeah. Actually,
You know what,
That's
Abby?
her.
I never thought that they thought it was me. So
I feel like they
That's
knew it.
kinda
wasn't
hitting me
you.
hard right
I
now.
just feel like they knew it wasn't you. It didn't sound. It was further away. I was 15 feet
So
away
funny.
minimum. I was in the hall.
it was really funny.
Anyway, so we fight about the Zoom stuff.
Yeah, we fight
that
about the
was
Zoom
really
stuff.
funny. That
And
was
how
like,
do
oh
you
my
all
gosh.
fight?
Yeah.
Like who's more controlling in your relationship?
I feel like we communicate pretty well.
Yeah.
So we're not ever like yelling.
Mhm.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
fighting. I'm definitely not a big fighter.
No,
like that.
Megan's not.
I don't like to do that.
I actually will say to her sometimes, I'm like, you remind me of when, okay, so in sports, referees are a big pain in the ass, right? So sometimes you'll like look at them and be like, what the hell was that? And the referees that go, you're right, my bad. You can't argue. They just like nip you and they like neuter you almost. And you're just like, and you want to have this because a lot of referees will be like, oh, I didn't see it that way. And then that's your chance to be like, well, you didn't just see that girl hit the other, you didn't see this, you didn't see that. And then when they argue back with you, it's like this back and forth. But when a referee says, you're right, it just ends it. And sometimes I'll be like, you're acting like that referee right now but this is a compliment actually. What Megan is really good at is like, she hears you. She's like understanding and processing your, for lack of a better, complaint. And she goes, okay, yeah, I see that. You're right. But then when you're kind of upset about
that's
something,
so
it just kind of like,
annoying.
right?
The thing is, like, I'm not doing this as a
she's
way
not.
of manipulation. Like,
But at first, I didn't
actually-
realize that. I had to
'Cause-
get to a place.
I'm
'Cause
actually
you thought
just
it was just
apologizing.
passive aggressive, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And I was like, argue with me, please.
And I'm like, I actually, what you just said really hit the nail on the head. And that's not cool of me. And I am apologizing. The problem is that some of these things are like character traits where I would love to say that I'm going to remember about the light bulbs. I'm probably not ever in my life going to remember all the time about the light bulbs. And
I'm like a psycho
the
light,
task.
like shutting the lights off, like when we leave the house. I just think, isn't that like kind of commonplace?
You also, I mean, to steal something from your guys' podcast with the ticker, I think Amanda was talking about it, of like the daily tasks, and like Sue also lives in 3022 for everything. And like, I would love to say that
it's called efficiency.
super efficient, super smart, like way ahead on things. Like it's already shown up at the door. And I'm like, wow, we should probably think about getting paper towels. And she's like, I have it on subscription, like to the exact amount that we need. No, you're not psycho at all. It's actually amazing. But you carry a lot of the household daily ticker tasks. And so of course that gets old. I think you like doing it, but also it gets old. And
well, you want your partner to like,
yeah. And so then when I say sorry about stuff, knowing, we both kind of know full well at this point, like, is it going to change a lot? I don't know. So then it feels sorry about, I'm saying sorry and then not changing my behavior. So that's what we talk about. I think that's something that we fight about probably with both of us.
like the theme of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Versus
I feel like
like
we're both very self-aware. We're both like, looking in, we're both understanding. We both have that. But then it's like, sometimes I just feel like you have to accept shit about your partner because it's not changing. They are who they are. And it's like, we can always be better, but you're not going to change the core of who your partner is. I very much believe that. And when we spend so much time together, I was during a pandemic, the same themes keep coming up and up and up. And I feel like the more we can just accept that some of these things your partner's going to drive you nuts about all the time. And I have found that some things that I've let go of, it's just better for me because like ultimately it's not going to change. So I'm either mad about it all the time or I'm just like, that's her and that's okay.
I mean, Megan, since you've known Abby for so long, I want you to know that I spent the first 4 years of our relationship trying to quiet her down. Like I thought maybe I could just, if we keep talking about it, I could just
this is the volume.
Lower her volume.
The volume.
Like that's never going to fucking happen. No, my responsibility is just to go dead inside.
Just to listen.
Right. Just that's never just dead inside. And like,
that's
my job as a lover is to slowly die to that wish. And like for you, I'm never going to put things back in the right place. I'm never,
I think we've gotten to a place where we're starting to accept that.
Yeah, because what Megan's saying, if I say to you, I'm sorry, that implies that I am going to do it differently. And I am never, ever going to do it differently.
Ever.
That's right.
That's the thing. Ever.
No.
Like it's just not going. Now we can become better at things, more aware. We can do this, we can do that. But like the volume of Abby's voice is the volume of Abby's voice.
Right.
That's like a natural, that's like asking, her to change who she is on the inside. It's just like
hard.
Not going to happen.
No, and it doesn't go well, Megan.
Although
when I try, it doesn't go well.
I will say, I do think that I have gotten less loud.
Really? Do you? Do you think that? Do you think someone tell you that, or are you just?
Is that your opinion?
Who told you that? Because they lied.
Yeah. Who told you that? Right. So interesting.
I love what Sue said. She said, I want a partner that partners.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
But she does. I mean, I'm sure it's like you do.
Yeah.
It's just there's these certain areas that are more like my wheelhouse. And I want her to participate in what I'm good at to like help. But then to her point, you have to realize that's not their thing. They're not going to think of these things.
Yeah.
This has been like the ongoing.
The ticker's fascinating.
That thing has changed my life.
Yeah.
Like now I have to actually like write it down, like ticker. So she'll walk into the room. She's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm tickering right now. And it's just like, I'm literally sitting there by myself thinking of all the things that needs to get done.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, you guys gave me a real word about that. I had to look in the mirror about that because I think it was Amanda who said, like, when her husband comes in and he's like, how can I help? That further proves you have no idea what is going on in our life. And I would ask Sue, how can I help? Like an idiot.
And I'm like, I got it.
I was like, oh my God, I'm doing this like awful thing that just, then I say, oh, how can I help? Which further proves how much I'm totally out of the loop. So I was like, you know what? Figure it out. Figure out a way that I can help. Figure it out, Megan. I don't know.
That's awesome.
So thank you guys for that.
We talk a lot on this podcast about boundaries. Have you all had to, during this weird time, establish any challenging boundaries with each other or with anybody else in the world that you can think of? Like family of origin stuff, the world. You guys have to deal with the world often and its feelings, or each other.
I actually can't think of anything. The only thing literally just happened yesterday. There's like sometimes where, because we're always like gaming things out together, right? Whether it's like saving the world or what's going on, in each of our teams or what's going on with our families. Like there's always like, we're gaming, we're talking, we're gaming things out. And I think one boundary we're starting to realize we need to set is we can't, okay, so as one of us is explaining something that's frustrating, that's happening, the other one in their attempt to be supportive can actually whip the other one up. So it's like, and because
me.
No, it's not just you.
Mostly
But
me.
it's like, so let's say,
Because I get fired up on your behalf.
Yes.
but vice versa. And it's like, so one of us is like, can you believe this and that is happening? And I'm already, already whipped up, and she'll like come in and whip me up even more. Yes. And it just happened yesterday where I was like, okay, this is actually not helpful now. Like I'm too whipped up. And I think I can do it I do it to you as well. And so it's like, that's like one thing I think we're starting to realize.
To be whipped up.
Yes. Whipped is my
I want to
favorite.
whip up for like 5 hours in a row. Meanwhile, we get to the 5 hours, we haven't accomplished anything.
That's right.
So I feel like
but I think
you're
that's a
trying
boundary.
to,
That's like,
yeah.
sometimes you just need the person to, yes, like be there and like listen and be supportive and, or show you another side if that you're not seeing, whatever the case is. But yeah, okay, maybe it is a me thing. For me, then
I've never heard
I'm
anyone
already
talk
whipped.
about that. That is such a huge situation. My sister and I can get on the phone with her and say, I don't know that person looked at me weird. In 20 minutes, we're both homicidal. We're both plotting the death of that person and how we can get away with it and remove the body.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that I believe there's an appropriate level of whippedness that everyone needs to get to, because I also I think our dynamic is I'm whipped and then you try to unwhip me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Telling me everything's okay.
That's frustrating too.
You know, when you're whipped up about something and somebody's like, well, I mean, let's look at it from their perspective. And you're like,
No.
okay,
It's annoying.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There's
what's
like a happy
the right
medium.
level? What's helpful?
Right. Like not, yeah. By the way, this is all very like situation dependent, topic dependent.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want somebody to be like right there whipped up with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me, it's a scenario where it's like one of my work environments. And I was finding that it like wasn't helping me to like go from, I was like 0 to 50 and she sent me to 100. And that was like, this is my work environment. I can't be at 100.
Yeah.
That was kind of sort of what was happening. So I think that it's like a good somebody to meet your whippedness, but maybe not exceed, but not bring you down either. To your point, it is frustrating for someone to try to like calm you when you're not ready to be calmed. And that's actually what I do. Sometimes I go to, she'll be talking about something and I immediately jump into solutions. And then I realize what happened. I'm like, yep, not yet. Yes. I get it. That was too soon. Too soon on the
Does it
solution.
look like I'm ready for a solution?
Too soon
I'm
on
in the
the
middle of my bullshit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Too soon on the solution.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Glennon
And you
always-
are very solution oriented.
I'm very
I'm
solution
more
oriented.
like, not emotional because you are emotional, but I'm more like get in the mix and like, you're an organizer and I'm like a fuck shit up in front of the microphone sort of thing. And like we have to, which we both get so much from each other. But it's like a balance of where
Those are the boundaries.
where
I
we
guess,
need to
answer.
sort
Well,
of do
and
that.
that's the thing.
So good. It's so beautiful.
When Glennon comes to me, she's coming to me with real problems that are like life and death for people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to like live in that space 24 hours a day. And so sometimes she'll just be like, can you please just not bright side this? Like, this is not a bright sideable moment. This is horrible. Like, this is bad. Like, let's just sit and feel bad for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And when that is kind of the consistent conversation, I'm like, fuck, I'm sad now.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
I'm actually sad.
Yeah. It's
I
hard.
like being sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Because I can like get to the thing and then get to what we're going to do and then be done because that's what my work requires of me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you're like, oh, but for the rest of the day.
For the rest of the day.
Mhm.
I'm like, but is the world ending? I think that you just told me it is. And now I'm supposed to deal with that? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I want to ask you guys some quick questions, like just a little rapid fire type thing, but it doesn't have to be rapid because I've never actually.
We'll do our best, but sometimes
I've
we get
never-
long-winded.
It's not. I've never done a rapid thing in my damn life. So
I try to do rapid. And I'm like, well, I need to give context.
yeah, don't worry about your rapidity. Okay. Which one of you is the more jealous one? And do you ever get jealous?
I am not
Yeah, she's
generally
not.
a jealous person. I don't get like too whipped up about that, but also it hasn't really happened with you. And I feel like what I could be.
Yeah.
She's not.
I'm not.
She's not. I think
But with
it's more me
you?
because she's literally not.
Do you feel like you're jealous? I don't feel like you're.
I'm more jealous. I don't know that I'm like a
I guess you're not gonna
super
be
jealous
outwardly
person.
that
I'm
way.
more jealous. I'm more jealous contextually than you, or conceptually than you.
Mhm. I feel like
For
we're
sure.
both jealous. Do you?
No. You're definitely more jealous than me. And also, if somebody comes into our situation where I get a weird vibe with, I'm like, cut all ties.
Yes.
Yeah, cut them off.
Cut all ties. Because
I
I've
can
been,
tell the
you know,
story.
traumatized in my past. And so when I feel the feeling, I like tell you, I'm like, that person crossed a boundary. I don't know what it is. Maybe nothing has happened. Like literally, they're probably wonderful people.
That's always a fun conversation. I've had it a few times. I can't
Are
ever
they
speak to you
wonderful?
again, nor can I explain to you why.
Why?
Yeah.
Godspeed.
And then sometimes I feel like it's like sometimes it's like I know that people
Are vibing?
like you
I
or
think it
you
makes
know whatever, and sometimes I just like don't feel threatened, and I'm like, well, they want to. You do understand what's happening right now, like they like you, but it's fine because I don't feel threatened by it. But don't ever give me anything to feel threatened by.
That's so interesting. That's amazing to me. So is the fact that I feel jealous of certain people, and I haven't been jealous for years, but that's also because we haven't seen any other human beings probably.
That's right.
Yeah,
COVID
that's
has
true.
helped.
Direct
Right.
correlation.
Yeah. COVID has made me a more mature person. But is it because I feel actually threatened? That's so embarrassing.
I don't know.
I don't either. I'll think about it. Okay. What do you guys do for fun?
Yeah.
This is a theme for us. We try to figure out what is the thing that you do that isn't related to like your productivity or that you get nothing out of except for enjoyment.
I keep trying to bring up things that we can do for fun together. Like I just brought up the other day, like, I think we should get into pickleball.
Like activities?
She wants me to play a fucking sport with
You'll
her.
learn when you get retired, Megan, you'll learn that like, you're
You
like,
gotta
I
get
don't
it
know
out.
what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
What am I going to do to work
know.
out and have fun? Because you got to do it at the same time. Well, we do just because we have children and that takes up all of our day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know the
Listen.
answer.
Okay, you go first and then I'll give mine.
I think what we do together really well is understand that we need other people. So like we have a great friend group that will make sure we get dinners in with, or like plan a weekend and go like hang out at their house. We've done vacations. I think the dinners part is a big part of our life, like finding a cool new restaurant or one that has been around forever that we've never been to, kind of checking those boxes. Those to me are like our outlets and things to do. I try to get her to do, I'm like, I love board games. And I've tried to like get her into like backgammon or something like that. She just,
this is also
even when I was teaching you dominoes the other day, you were just like, not, I was like, wait,
did you,
I'm like, did you like it? Yeah, I did. I was like, did you?
I don't know. Did I? I don't know. Also, I think that there is something about my insecurity. Like, you are so smart. And especially when we start playing games, Sue has the ability to hold 25 different fully gamed out situations in her head at one time. And every single day I leave for my workout, I forget something. Like, I just can't hold it all in my head. I don't know. It's somewhere, but like, so I think there's a little bit of that. So you're like, and you grew up playing games. I didn't really like grow up playing games and stuff. I think that the only thing I enjoy doing really outside of, now I say that like outside of my sport, which is a lot, and outside of like what I consider my work, which is the, activism and however we want to say it. I don't even know if activist is the right word. I just only really care about going to dinner with friends and like having fun and seeing other people and like, just that like community and whatever, and having conversation. Like, is talking like a hobby?
Yes.
Because we love
talking.
It. We love to like play out scenarios or do debates or talk about issues. I mean, especially with our closest friends, like we flush a lot out of like, what's our stance? How do we talk about it? What does this mean? Blah, blah, blah. And of course I love shopping. We can't really do a lot of that now, but it's like, I think that fashion, everything is like a form of self-expression for me. And now like for you,
it's becoming.
And it's like, outside of that, like I'm not hiking, I'm not doing other sports, I'm not doing other physical activities. No. I've started to get into cooking a little bit. We'll see how long that lasts. But like, I'm also just tired. Like our lives are busy and we have a lot. And I just want to go to dinner and eat great food and like,
but do you remember,
have good wine.
Do you remember very early in our relationship, I had already, no, maybe that's not when it happened, but it was early in the relationship within maybe a year. And we were like trying to plan a vacation. And you said it first, but I was thinking it. And it was kind of like, well, we're going to invite other people, right? Oh. And I think it's like, but like that's, we're together, like actually in the early part of our relationship, we were together a lot. But then it was like, we like other people coming into our space or us going into theirs and like doing all the things we just said.
That's magical to me. So do you all like the same sorts of people? Like, is making friends hard for you? Are most of your friends queer couples? Do you ever have a couple where you're like, I don't like her, but the other one does? How is that? It feels like it's so easy for you the way you're talking about it.
I'm not as good as like keeping touch. I feel like I have a lot of friends. They're just all over the place.
That's like what sports does.
Yeah.
It's really the sad part.
And you've done a better job of keeping in touch. And you have,
I have some
core
hometown
friends in New York.
Yeah. Like not necessarily the ones I grew up with. There's a couple, but just kind of through the years who you became friends with from New York, where I'm from. And those are like the homies forever. Amazing, and they've now adopted Megan. I think they like you better.
No.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Which is totally fine. But like they are now, like Megan is like now in this group. Like they have their own individual friendships and relationships. And we've been lucky in that way that it's like kind of worked out like that.
But no, we don't have a lot of new friends.
No.
It's kind of like we have such little time as it is. Making new friends is like hard and a lot. And then it's going to like take away, like it's hard to even schedule a dinner with the existing friends that we have. So it's like, I think like, where do you meet new friends? I don't know.
I don't either.
I have no idea. That to me is the saddest part. One of the sadder parts about being an athlete is you grow up with someone or a team or a certain amount of teammates. You have all these experiences, all these shared experiences, the highs, the lows. Like these are like seriously deep relationships. Now you may not know like their names of their siblings, but you're going to know a lot of other things about them. It's like this weird, unique thing. But at the same time, the ones you do become super close with, life goes on. You all live where you live. And then like I spoke about Diana, she lives in Phoenix in California. And outside of the WNBA season, if I see her once a year, I feel lucky. And I know it's the same for you and a lot of your friends. Like I'm sure you guys spent all this time together. When's the last time you saw each other? Like it's just, and that to me is like the saddest part because those relationships would continue to thrive and they just kind of get stunted because you're so far away from each other.
What's the most important thing to each of you in a friend, and what's a deal breaker?
Ooh.
Oh, there can be absolutely no bullshit, it's like no games, no bullshit, no
trust
dishonesty, no, we don't have time for this. Like I said, it's already difficult enough to find time. And I feel like we have to deal with bullshit in all other ways. It's like, I don't want that like friction. It just feels like a waste of time. Like, why am I spending time with this person if they're even making me like question anything? And sort of that trust, like I feel like our friend group in New York, and even friends that I have kind of scattered, there's just this trust that like, if I don't talk to you for 3 months, it's fine. We'll just pick up at dinner, or like, we're always there to kind of support each other and like have each other's back. It has to be that sort of easy feeling. Otherwise I would just rather, like, not in a mean way, I would just like rather not hang out. It's totally fine. Like, we clearly don't vibe or something, but like, if it's not 100, it's kind of not worth it. Like, we'd rather just chill, with ourselves, or like with other friends that we have. The kind of like forced situation, I'm just like, and I don't know if it comes from being in sports so long. Like, I can get along with anyone who's put me at any dinner table in the entire world. It's like, fine. I know the conversation. I can like have conversation, whatever. But it's like, I've been forced to spend so much time with so many people that I would never choose, not in a bad way. They wouldn't choose me either. But I've had so much of that. I want zero of that.
That's right.
Like,
That's
moving forward.
We just did this whole thing about friendship, and that's the science of friendship, is like, it should be 100% or nothing. That we all have this idea that relationships should be suffering, but actually friendships are the things we get to choose, right? Like, we don't get to choose our freaking family. Right. Once we get married, we don't really get to choose our partner. That's like done deal, right? That's like, But our friendships are the one thing that we can be like, no, 100 or 0.
It's good.
No friction.
And I think, you guys are touching on a lot of stuff that I've thought about, especially over the last 5-6 years of my retirement. Having these like friends that you go to camp, you're playing on your teams, and you have people around all the time. One thing that I think what will happen when you retire is you're going to get really picky about the people that you spend, because you all are so busy, and having those friendships that you do get, like chosen family, a lot of, especially gay women. Not that you guys have bad family situations, but I just know that having other queer women in our lives is like really important to feel like you're having that sense of community in some way.
And they're just better.
I mean, being gay is the best thing ever for like every reason under the sun.
Thank God. Okay, we kept you for too long already. This is called We Can Do Hard Things. What's the hardest thing you're dealing with right now before we leave in your life? What's the hardest?
I mean, I think for me, I've said I was going to play another year. It's more than likely my last. So there's the whole retirement, which is really code word for like identity and like, who are you without this? So that's like always just kind of swirling in the back, because then I was saying earlier, how some days I show up to the workout, I feel bad. Some days I feel good. On the good days, I'm like, maybe I just do this literally another couple years. And I know that's just me holding on to the identity, not the game itself or any of those things. So I think that's probably the hardest thing I'm dealing with right now.
That's so honest and beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, the aging athlete is tough, because I can't, my life has never been totally wrapped up in soccer either. I've always felt my identity firmly in other places, which sometimes is like worse, because I'm like, do you want to do this? Like, do you want to keep doing it? And a lot of other things are wrapped up in it. So that's a little bit. And then I think trying to live trying to create a world that takes me fully into account. I'm sure you guys feel this way. I think you feel this way, being in women's sports. Like, every day I'm like, this is insane. Like, the world that we live in is completely insane. It doesn't take our full selves into account, and so many other full selves into account. And so how do you, because it's not like we can just go to another planet on a more evolved place. Like, this is where we are. But how do I like live outside of that while breaking that down, but like not getting bogged down by that? Like, almost like trying to live in the future and setting things up and doing things differently, I think is always like a challenge, because it's like we can't do things the same way that whether it's successful, male athletes or successful, media people, whatever, like we can't do it the way that it was done. And it's a really difficult trap to not fall into, because it like makes you think that you can. And they're like, just do this and just do this and just do this and say this and blah, blah, blah. And then you get to the end where you've done everything and they're like, yeah, it's still not, you're still not in.
And listen, but you have to keep doing that, Megan and Sue, because y'all are trailblazers, and trailblazers are always questioning themselves. Like, whether we want to believe that or not, trailblazers are like, fuck, what am I doing? Sue, and I'm sure a lot of people tell you this, just really take in everything and enjoy your last year. And what I will tell you is that my life got so much better when I retired. It got so much better.
People are saying
the biggest fears that I had were where I was going to make money, how I was going to make money, and what I was going to do to get healthcare. And the truth is, I've made more money in my retirement. Much by actually giving more time to myself to like create things and do things that I want to do.
And that's the beauty of being a woman athlete. There's plenty of chances to make more when you stop.
I mean, literally.
That's actually the wild part. I think that's what's hard to wrap your head around. That, like, being told, I think kind of what you're saying is you're not valued as maybe an athlete, right? In the moment, like WNBA, we get, the hate is like crazy. So you feel like lesser than, but then you walk off the court and, a company wants to sponsor you or somebody wants to hear you speak. And then you're told you're valued because of and so it's just like, what? Like, to me, that's where it's like banging my head against the wall.
Yeah. I think that's actually the thing that is the hardest all the time. And particularly for me since 2019 is like the balance between doing my job, which is playing soccer. At least it's one of my jobs, but it's kind of like the cornerstone job, even though it's like the one where I get treated the worst, paid the worst, and all the conditions are the worst. Everything else kind of is, not relying on it, but, sort of
predicated,
whatever. And so what's the balance between like doing my job and then like securing my financial future? Because especially being older, post 2019, like, I'm not an idiot, and I'm not gonna like be like, no, I'm gonna focus 100% on soccer so I can be the best player that I can be, and like totally forego my financial security in the future. Nor should I have to. But every minute that you go this way, it takes away from soccer, and then just constantly feeling like you're at odds with yourself and with your career and all of that, and how difficult it is to actually just be a women's professional player in any sort of league, with coupling that with this weird, world that's exploded for us kind of off the field. So it's constantly trying not to hate everyone all the time, basically.
Yes!
It's like,
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
I hate to say this, and it's probably going to get like, clipped by Washington Examiner, but sometimes I'm just like, I hate everyone. For everything that you do to all of us. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
It's so fucking infuriating, because here's the thing. Like, y'all should be able to, at this age, at this time in your life, be able to walk away completely fine and financially set for life. But like, we're women athletes, so it's like constantly fighting that battle. And
no, totally.
It's
and
like
like fighting the powers that be to break things down. But I would really love to just, quite frankly, never deal with US soccer ever again.
Yeah, blow it
that
up.
would be my goal.
That's going to be the clip.
I know that's going to be the clip. And honestly, I've say that right to the board, because it's just, have they given us a platform? Yes. Like, have we been one of the best supported teams in the world? Better than awful doesn't mean good, but okay. Yes. Like, I understand that there is good with it, but like, to feel like in so many other parts of my life, I'm like moving on and being more, open-minded and progressive and working with people that are not just like-minded in the sense of like a feedback loop, but actually view me the way that I view myself, and I want myself to be viewed as a whole human, and I view them that way, and like we view each other that way. And then sometimes we get stuck back in these old antiquated ways that just go ahead.
I like love to use whether it's like movie quotes or like things you saw somewhere and like bring it all back around. And I don't know why this ever stuck in my head, but I feel like I say it pretty often. It's from the movie Selena. And it's when her dad is like, we have to be more Mexican than the Mexicans and more American than the Americans. And I feel like that is the life of a female athlete. You have to be like, whatever it is you're supposed to be over here, you have to be that times 1,000. And whatever it is you're supposed to be over here, that times 1,000. And you're just stuck in these places. And it's actually different for every athlete because everyone kind of has their own lane, for lack of a better, that it might show up in. But yeah, it's like Selena's dad said. That's how I feel all the time.
I don't know if we're going to name this podcast I Hate Everybody, or it's like Selena's dad said, because both I love.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, maybe we'll title it, It's Like Selena's Dad Said. I hate everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's just constantly that.
This is all such big stuff. And what you're talking about having evolved past an institution that you have to stay in. I have a friend who talks about a Zen koan, which is like there's a goose that's growing inside of a glass bottle, right? How do you get the goose outside of the bottle without hurting the goose or shattering the bottle? And I see you, Megan, trying to do that so beautifully, where you have this bottle that is so fucked up and so small, but is the only container for these younger women coming up. So you can't say burn it all down, even though that's what you do want to say, because then you have to come back 20 times and say, I didn't mean burn it down. I meant like put a fire
burn
a
little bit. Yeah.
It's totally. And it's like really what I want to do, being the goose inside the bottle. I'll break the bottle. It's fine. I don't care if I cut my foot on the way out. That's totally fine. But then don't look at me and be like, oh my God, did you break the bottle? That's very destructive.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, I'm sorry I couldn't fit the lower half of my body through that tiny opening at the top. Like it's like people want to acknowledge for female athletes now, or women who play, female sports. Like we know it's not what it needs to be, but also like don't talk about that too much and don't push too much. And also we'll be the ones that'll continue to, set the benchmarks or make the rules or whatever, when actually we do have all the answers. I firmly believe that. I feel me and Jessica Clarendon, the woman that I work with full time now, Leisha Clarendon, is her wife, plays in WNBA. So obviously, we have like this whole, fuck it up brain trust going on. At least we try to. We always talk about living in the future and like just telling people like, it's going to be okay. You guys aren't going to die. Come with us. It's like, everything is going to be okay. But we do kind of know how to live in the future. And like, I feel like if you gave us the keys, I'm sure you guys feel this way, like to whatever institution, whether it's sports or media or this, like I could do a good job. I just know that. But it's like, how many other people think that? Is it just us thinking that? And, having to try to convince everyone else like we know what's going on. But yeah.
Well, if we want to know how to do it, we can watch the WNBA. I mean,
that is true.
That is a good way. Yeah.
The t-shirt the goose has on.
Yeah. It says vote Warnock.
In the glass bottle of the WNBA will lead the way. Right?
So
we adore both of you. Megan, I've adored you forever, but Sue, I just knew you'd be as wonderful as you are.
Thank you.
And thank you, Sue, for your intense gentleness. I have noticed that every time you start to say something that is a sports metaphor, you start it with, in sports. And I know you're talking to me and trying to help me through. And I notice it. I see you. And I thank you.
Thank you.
I love your take on sports.
Yeah,
Julie.
we
It's
love
the
it.
best. I actually
your
feel
Twitter
more,
feed.
I feel closer to you in the way that I feel about sports than anything else that I've ever read or whatever. I always say the sports.
Yeah.
I'm like, go sports. Like what? I'm like, and it's just a wild
It
space.
is a wild
and I'm
space.
like, this is so weird. go sports.
It
So
is.
anytime you chime in, it's just the best
The
thing ever.
best.
I'm like, what she said.
Yeah.
So good.
It's a beautiful thing to come to the sports with beginner's mind.
Well, we're
and try to
lucky.
make
I
sense
mean,
of it.
Yeah.
You're all our icons, not just sports icons, but really feminists and women in the world that are doing world-changing things. And I can't wait for y'all to retire. The world actually
Same.
kind of needs
New
you on
friends.
this side of the.
New friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it too. I'm excited to see what happens when
It
they're
just
when
gets
they're out of
better.
the bottle.
Yeah.
We love you. Go do all the things. Try to be quiet when each other is on Zoom meetings. Megan, stop being
Thank
such a
you.
hypocrite.
It's
Um,
so true. So share your feelings.
And to the rest of you, oh, they're so cute.
They are so
I'm
cute.
so glad you have
Gosh.
each other. All right, when things get hard this week, don't forget we can do hard things.
That's
We'll see
right.
you back next week. I give you Tish Melton and Brandy Carlisle.
I walked through fire, I came out the other side. I chased desire, I made sure I got what's mine. And I continue to believe that I'm the one for me. And because I'm mine, I walk the line.
We Can Do Hard Things is produced in partnership with Cadence 13 Studios. Be sure to rate, review, and follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Odyssey, or wherever you get your podcasts. Especially be sure to rate and review the podcast if you really liked it. If you didn't, don't worry about it. It's fine.